Tuesday, October 4th at 4:15. Looks like we have a quorum at 5, so welcome. First up is Resolution 2022-1697. Do we have someone is Courtney here?
I have not seen her yet.
For the amendment, anyone on the committee can move it if you
What's that
Yeah,
now?
I can move the amendment. Yeah,
Okay.
happy to move the amendment.
Okay, need someone to move it second? Okay. Someone to speak to the amendment.
All these amendments basically add reporting requirements,
Okay.
very, very specific reporting requirements, quarterly to council, including all the demographics, how many people we serve, the demographics, how effective things were, how many people return to the street if we know that, just so that we can use all of that information as we move forward and hopefully put in a sustainability plan that we can learn from our data what works and what doesn't work. But also so that we can be on top of how this money is spent and make sure it's being spent in the most effective way, serving the most people that we can in the most efficient and effective way. I think I said that okay.
And you record that because it's true for the next 3
Yeah.
As Lady Johnson said, just repeat this.
Yeah, all of these
1697.
are just adding that
Yeah,
kind of
it's-
reporting and tracking.
Were you all here yesterday for the meeting? So I listened to the whole explanation. Questions?
I'm fine with this.
I think we learned, any questions? Okay, ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor?
Are we in favor
On the
of
amendment.
the amendment?
Amendment.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
All in
Aye.
favor of the amendment? Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
5 in favor. All in favor of the resolution as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. This is hard.
Taxing.
Okay, next is Resolution 2022-1698, appropriates $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services for temporary interim gap housing. Move. Second? Anybody second? Gloria, second. Any discussion? Everybody?
We have 2 amendments on this one.
Okay, so,
I believe,
The one amendment was withdrawn.
that's what I was going to say.
yeah, so,
Councilman Coombs did not offer her.
Yeah, that was withdrawn. And on the First Amendment,
okay, so, First Amendment,
is
Move.
basically the same reporting requirements for council on demographics, money spent, how it was spent, numbers, et cetera, et cetera.
okay, so you move the amendment.
I'm moving the amendment.
And Toombs is withdrawn.
And Gloria, second.
Tim's
Okay.
withdrawn, yeah.
Any discussion? Any questions? This is going a lot faster than yesterday, so we're all good.
No discussion today.
All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? I have to say that. All those in favor of the resolution as amended?
Aye.
Nobody opposed, so 5-4, 0 against. Move the amendment. Next resolution is Resolution 2022-1699, appropriate $7 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to establish a low-barrier housing collective and to fund competitive grants for support services. Second. Okay, so we have another amendment.
Also, the same reporting requirements as on the other 2 amendments.
And I can just do it as amend, do I have to do it
If you
separately?
can do separately, I can
Okay,
motion on
so,
the amendment and then pass the amendment.
Okay,
Move it as amended.
so all those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? John, I didn't hear your voice. Okay. The amendment,
I'd like to move the amendment.
and second, moving the amendment? Any discussion? Any questions?
I have a question on the bill as amended, but not on that.
Bill as amended for this. Okay. So,
May I jump right in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is actually something that I meant to ask last Thursday and should have, and then again last night, but there were so many other questions that kind of got lost in the shuffle. I was just wondering why in this bill, the hiring of mobile navigators is that is given to MHID. MHID is not a direct service provider, and there are already many other nonprofits in the community that are already doing that who could increase their load in terms of mobile housing navigation as navigators with additional funding, which is exactly what MHID is going to do. They're going to get money and then hire people. So I'm just wondering what the administration thinks the benefit is of having MHID, which is not a direct service provider, do this, instead of the nonprofits already on the ground who are actually establishing those relationships and building up that trust with those experiencing homelessness. It seems like we might be missing a better opportunity to be putting these funds into, putting it out for RFP and letting nonprofits that are already doing this expand on the work that they're already doing. So I just wondered if the administration...
You're talking about the mobile housing
Mobile.
navigation.
Navigators, yes.
Which is
And,
part of 6999, not 6998.
yeah, that, I just wanted
Oh.
to clarify because
Yeah, we're on 69.9.
I think 1787 actually gives a contract to CCF to expand the mobile housing navigation.
Right.
So that is doing exactly what you were saying. I think the piece of legislation you're on, the staffing, and you help me out if I'm wrong about this, Karen, is on the landlord piece, basically building internal capacity to work with those landlords. So I think what is confusing about that legislation is you have the landlord piece and the competitive grant piece in one bill, and the staffing is on the landlord piece so that we have more staff in MHED to work with those landlords and engage with them. So that's why it's confusing, because it's kind of mashed together in one bill.
Okay.
I don't know if I was clear about answering your question.
You
But
are clear.
It is the intent that that expansion of the mobile housing navigation will be done by CCF that has proven that they have been effective at doing that, and I feel confident they can expand that.
Okay, and that just brings up, I don't know if I should talk about that now or I should move, but I'm actually going to move to defer 1787. I've heard from many, many community providers that are not comfortable expanding with CCF for a number of reasons, but we can talk about that when we get to actually get to that
That's
bill.
our next one, I think that.
So basically what you're saying is we're not, within MHID, we are not hiring staff to actually be the mobile housing navigators, even they are, you're talking about navigators coming through the contract with CCF.
No. I think they're coordinating, but they're not doing Stacy, do you want to
Yeah,
recognize?
so,
Yeah.
and which ones are you on? Are
We're on
you
1699. Will you be able to answer that?
Let me get some
The seven in.
questions out.
Oh, so it's the
Low-barrier
first set, so that's actually $3 million for 3 years, and that would be to provide housing navigators, landlord relationships, landlord services, within MHED, and provide that services to all the COCs, because when I did my report, and I met with all of them, most of them said we can't be everything to everybody. We need some help to get some of this done and not have to worry about being able to pay for staff or things like that. And so that is to provide all of those services within MHED and to provide those services for the agencies of the continuum of care so that they didn't have to do it. So that is separate than the other part of it, which is $4 million in capacity building grants for the nonprofits.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting questions, or have been getting questions from providers saying that they themselves could provide that if they had the money actually to expand their own staff. Just wondering why that would be housed within MHID. Again, not a direct service provider, so.
That's
that
not a
answer your
direct
question?
service, it's a
Kind of, but
service.
not-
Yeah, that is not a direct service, that is a service to the provider, so it's not something that they are competing, with service providers for. You have a room full of service providers, and most of the major service providers we're a part of all of these processes, so it's curious, just for us, for our own edification, so we can make sure that we're casting a broad enough a net to know, where the service providers that are unhappy with a very clear and transparent and publicly noted process are finding fault with the plan.
I think that they just have more questions, which shows the speed of which we've done this. There are still questions that have remained unanswered or unclear to people, which is why.
Council Lady, I will say, we didn't give a lot of detail, but in this giant question and answer document that we
Just a
gave,
minute.
question number 47 actually gets to what you're asking.
And I think
it discusses
53
a
does.
program manager and 3 or 4 housing navigators, but it specifically says to assist the nonprofits, to support them
Right.
as they're doing their work.
Okay, I guess I was looking more at question 53.
But we
That
didn't
was
go
in
into
there.
more detail than that,
Yeah.
and now April is here, so.
Good. Did you, Kathy, did you want to?
I would love to talk both as a provider and the chair of the shelter committee who's been holding these meetings. We've been meeting for over 2 months, 3 months almost. We've had 8+ 2-hour+ meetings. We've had over 20 organizations, over 10 people with lived experience, robust conversations. Tom has been at a few of those.
About half of them,
Yeah, and so if there is a nonprofit organization that's unhappy, this is the second deferral. Oh, with CCF, this really hasn't been, in our minds, with a great deal of speed. We didn't want to defer the first time. Deferring it again would just opening it up to people carving it up, tearing it apart. As far as the Low Barrier Collective, we would greatly welcome more participation on that head. Sometimes it takes, when you go into landlords having the strength of a Metro voice behind you to say, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to help with, cleaning up messes. We're going to have landlord bridges. We're going to have damage waivers. That takes staff to call these landlords and organize that. We have our own staff that helps find people apartments, but we need staff to help recruit landlords. And that can't really be done piecemeal. That has to be done.
And is one who is involved with affordable housing, with the nonprofit, to have them drop down to this 30% level and the extra issues that are involved? Not that people are bad people,
No,
they just need help.
Yeah.
And the landlords need to know that help is going to be available or they're not gonna take the risk. It's too labor intensive from the landlords to do stuff they aren't trained to because they aren't social workers. So
Exactly.
this was, to me, was a real exciting piece.
It
of
takes
all
both.
this legislation.
The nonprofits and the Metro commitment to that. And if there is a nonprofit that is speaking to you that they feel like they haven't been included in the process, I mean, it was announced at
I'd have
CRCs,
to support Kathy.
HBCs,
I've been
public
at,
meetings, yeah.
for the last 4 to 6 weeks at most of our a lot of our meetings, and nonprofits, people that are currently homeless. I mean, it was probably one of the most inclusive process I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And anybody that wanted a voice was included. It was 20 to 30 at these meetings. I felt you had about everybody included
you.
that you could possibly do. I thought you did a great job. So,
Anybody could come that wanted to. And we really went through in great detail.
yeah,
It's
hours.
1698, the Temporary Housing Solutions. So, the roadway and the community. And we actually made recommendations to Homeless Planning Council and for feedback. We actually made recommendations that weren't even totally in line with Metro's recommendations, right? And as far as I understand it, they've accepted our recommendations. So it's been very inclusive, and I'll shut up.
And I think the other
appreciate
part
it.
that I saw through this process, that everything was very aligned, strategic planning to you, it was well aligned. And I would say almost universal acceptance, it would be my
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, I'm sure there were
I didn't hear
some
hardly
people-
one or two that would
Yeah.
concerned with it. So it was a pretty strong process.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, for me, I think that, Ginger, you pointing out that other question says assist is a big thing, because
we-
I was
we
looking at a
probably
different
could have
question
elaborated more.
that made it very unclear, and that's what I was getting asked about, are those things. So I'm fine with 1699.
I just have we're kind of
1699, I'm
talking
fine.
about question number
1699 is
47
a
and
question.
the housing navigators being coordinating versus direct service.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But April can probably talk
And
on
we
that.
heard a lot, I'm late to the game just because we were doing some other very, very important things. So I don't want to repeat what's already been said, but I'll say also part of Stacy's study revealed that a lot of agencies are saying, I can't be all things to all people, and how can MHEAD step in, and what's her role that they can help fulfill. So that was one of the main reasons also. One of our main agencies out there that's probably have been a little bit against some of this work have asked for help in the housing navigation realm. So that's
Very good.
And we have HUD TA that's been helping
No,
us
I'm fine
as
with
well.
1699. I just had that question for
Okay, any
clarity
other
based on what I'm
questions?
seeing asked.
Any other questions? Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor as amended? say
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, we got 6, 4, 0 against. Last one is Resolution 1787, approves a grant contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and the Community Care Fellowship to operate an expanded mobile housing navigation center program. Movement?
Yes, I'm moving
Second.
forward.
Okay. Questions? Yeah, Councilor Welch.
Yes, I actually would like to move to defer this. I've heard from some providers in the community that are a little bit concerned about expanding Community Care Fellowship, given the type of service provider that it is, and that not all clients would feel comfortable with that. That best practice is that an organization service 3 of these systems, and this would actually move Community Care Fellowship to 10. There are also some other providers that would like to get involved in this and would like to be able to bid for this money to set this up, that they would like to get into this, and they have very specific reasons for wanting to do that. And I would actually, if you would indulge me, Chair, I would like to, if I could, to ask H.G. Stovall to talk to me, to talk to us a little bit about one of the problems that he and Launchpad has with this particular bill.
Okay, we'll go there. Kathy, I see your hand raised to possibly, so go ahead.
It's 7 sites total.
They already have 3. That brings
Okay,
it
go
to
ahead.
10.
I'm H.G. Stovall. I'm the Executive Director of Nashville Launchpad. We're the city's only adult shelter geared to the LGBT community.
Okay.
Young adults 18 and 24 who are LGBT are 120 to 300% more likely to experience homelessness. This is work Launchpad has been doing since 2014. We have concerns that operations that do not provide a specific, affirming, inclusive environment are not enough for these people to pull themselves out of being unhoused. We'll be quick. In 2005, I worked in a Fortune 1000 restaurant company with a non-discrimination policy. But me reporting to work on Monday morning was a business interruption for the individuals who drove in from the hinterlands of Lebanon, Tennessee to Cracker Barrel's corporate office. I could not get my work done from the questions of what I did this last weekend and how well decorated my home must have been. There's a difference between a policy and an environment that provides non-discrimination. We would love to partner with CCF to build a specific site for that, but we're also up for the challenge as the experts in the industry.
Kathy?
Yes, so in our process, and I talked with the Community Care Fellowship, as I understand it, you are taking over a site and
That is news to me.
partnering with them.
We'd love it. We'd love it.
Yeah, from the conversations that I've had with Ryan, you all were definitely working with him in that, so.
Yeah, did you want to go first, or April, did you want to go?
I was just going to point out that HD and I have regular conversations, and, you know, I'm aware of the shelters that he's currently operating, day shelters, et cetera, that are not necessarily LGBTQ friendly, and that was my understanding. Kathy worked on it, and that you were going to be one of the providers in the new spaces. It's listed on her thing.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
Okay, I don't know who was first, Joy?
I'm just going to agree with Councilmember Welch, because it seems like there hasn't been communication between two organizations, so it's
Okay.
pretty clear that we don't need to vote on this today.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Number one, Councilmember Van Rees is the chair of the LGBT caucus, of which I'm also a member, and so I'm very concerned about this topic. Also, Community Care Fellowship is located in District 6. And also my congregation, which is a more like Presbyterian congregation that serves LGBT people, also is concerned about this topic. So what I would like to do is, if we do have a deferral, is I would like to be included in conversations to resolve whatever
Okay,
concerns
let me
may
go to
exist.
Councilor Rutherford, then back to
I just have a point of order. Are we on the deferral motion currently? Was there a second
Yeah,
for the deferral?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's deferred.
We haven't moved to defer yet.
Well, I thought
I
you
moved to defer.
she
She did.
moved to
She
defer.
did, but I never heard a second.
Second to deferral.
Okay,
Okay.
then we're good then, okay.
Yeah, you're good? Okay. Response, Kathy.
So we have listed, and it will be listed in all the contracts that come before you all, that no one can be denied, and I understand that's not the same as having a community. We've also had extensive conversations, and I think HG would agree with that. We've had extensive conversations that have been very positive in our shelter committee. HG was on vacation, and so perhaps that's where he missed that, because I know he and Ryan were talking about that. But as far as other organizations, I have never had one other organization come to the shelter committee. And there are 20-plus organizations. Room in the Inn, there is Catholic Charities, there is Mary Parish Center, there is the Nashville Rescue Mission, there is Community Care Fellowship, there's the Contributor, there's Salvation Army. Who else is there in there? There's Launchpad. And I sent you all a letter signed by all
Most
those people.
importantly, there are people
With lived
experience, current
Yeah.
and past.
And over 8-plus meetings, I've never had one organization say, I would like to do what Community Care Fellowship is doing. You guys should give us the money too. If you're gonna have a transparent process, the process needs to be transparent. It can't be that we all get together, we vote, everyone says what they wanna do, we all sign a letter, we send it in, but then there's like and I don't mean to sound snotty when I say this, there's like this illusion of there's organizations, but we don't know their names, saying they would like to bid on it, so let's defer. I mean, we have people out there sleeping on the streets. This is not about whether Ryan gets the money or Kathy gets the money or HG gets the money. This is about serving these people and not deferring this for another 2 months, right? To let it, because you can't defer any piece of this because it all falls apart. It has to pass with its original intentions. So that's my passionate speech of the day.
Okay. Any comment? Go ahead, Gloria.
One of the comments I want to make about this, and really all the legislation we're looking at today, that has been very impressive to me, because oftentimes somebody wants their name at the top, whether that be nonprofit or for-profit organizations, people like their name at the top. What I have seen in all this legislation is y'all put that aside. And you said the purpose is bigger than any of us. And the fact that you've all come together to work on this and put your own personal aside is pretty magnificent.
Council Lady Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask Councilmember Welsh, in deferring this, how long did you want to defer it?
I wanted one meeting deferral, so that we can make sure this conversation is had and the people who do have concerns can come forward. I think what happened here, as you pointed out, is indicative of what's gone on, in my opinion, with this legislation, that it hasn't been all well thought. There are a lot of questions last night in committee. So many questions came out that should have been answered on the front end, that it shows that there are problems. I don't think a one meeting deferral is going to slow this down, but I think it's very important that someone like HG know that he's actually been in conversations that his organization has been, and he does not know that. I think that kind of reflects what I'm talking about. So I'm only asking for a one meeting deferral to get this all cleared up and bring everybody to the table, and the people who want to participate, and if necessary, amend to put out for RFP if necessary, but to have those conversations, because I don't think they've been had, at least with people in council enough.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to point out the reason that CCF is just the lead and there were subs under him is because one agency, it's like the reason Salvation Army took the other end, is somebody's got to be able to have a line of credit that puts a tremendous amount of money out front. And so I just want to be clear as to why in the whole meetings, and HG is over there shaking his head, yes, that we decided that it would be Salvation Army and CCF The only two that were willing to put themselves out there and dance on that ledge while they wait for reimbursement. So let's be perfectly clear, this was not ill thought out. This was not done without everybody's knowledge. This had HUD TA taking a look at it. And it's easy to come into a conference room and come up with all sorts of confabulations and even complaints about people not getting what they want. But at the end of the day, it was agreed upon. And it was agreed upon by a large number of agencies that spent a tremendous amount of time doing the work.
Very true. Councilman Rutherford.
I move to table the deferral motion.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor of moving the table to defer?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
What's that mean? Huh?
Motion fails.
Fails. Okay. Okay, so it's not tabled.
Chair-
Councilman, go ahead.
Chair, thank you again. I think a lot of good work has gone into this. Again, as a member of the LGBT community,
Sure.
this is really important. In District 6 in East Nashville, the main launchpad site was Easton Methodist Church, which was destroyed by the tornado. This is a really important issue to the LGBT community and specifically to District 6. And I want to make sure that it's addressed.
Okay.
And what I will also say is, with all due respect to so many people whom I respect a lot in this room for your work, is that I do feel that council members with questions about this legislation, which are well-intentioned, have been talked down to. And I think the tone that has been directed towards council members, all of whom care about our neighbors who are unhoused or potentially unhoused, has been very negative, and people have been talked down to.
Okay.
And I just want the administration to hear that, and I want the consultants to hear that we need to get this right, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of the people who all need help, which definitely includes members of the LGBTQ community.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just
Okay,
want to offer that comment.
Thank you. Councilor Stiles.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Withers, for your comments that actually I was going to speak a bit to what was just mentioned. I think there's definitely a sentiment, and me personally, and in the last 4 days, the amount of phone calls, emails that we have received, there has been a level of attacking within them and a feeling of nonprofit Hunger Games, which is not the intention of any council member. We all want to end homelessness. We all do. And every nonprofit is important. Every consultant that is in here, it has merit. You don't get to tell us who gets to get money and who doesn't. And I've had that happen. It's not okay. We all want to help you, but we all have to be appropriate. And in the same way that you want assistance, we want to give you assistance, but not to be bullied. And so this particular legislation needs work. We are not even agreeing in committee. So why not put it together so we all can feel comfortable and it can be a unanimous vote? As Councilwoman Withers has said, this is serving a minority community. I happen to be a minority, so I am very supportive of this.
Okay.
So I would just
Okay, let's,
like to see
I just want to point out that Ryan with CCF is in
Yeah,
the room
that's-
now also, so
okay.
if there's any questions.
Yeah.
That was what I was gonna point out also. He came, he did not hear what the problem was, so.
Okay. You want to explain?
Yes, I've had several people come to me with questions about why just CCF and other organizations would like to be able to apply for this money through RFP to do this same work within various populations within those experiencing homelessness. And they're a little uncomfortable with the expansion from 3 sites to the larger sites when best practice is 3 sites. So I am requesting a 1-meeting deferral so we can work out some of these problems. Just now in this meeting, HG found out that he might be one of your sites that he did not know. So, which is to me indicative of we need to have a little more communication about this and make sure everyone's on the same page and everyone who wants a place at this table and this legislation has it and knows how to access that.
So, I guess one thing is that we are already serving at our current sites LGBT. And, I mean, that's actually one of the coordinated entry pieces in one of the HUD laws is that we have, I mean, we don't have any discrimination, so we're already serving individuals from that community. And one of the specific sites that we were thinking about opening up for youth and LGBT is actually the church that I grew up in, Connection Church, where HG also attends. And so that was the plan, and it's even actually laid out in the original document that all of the nonprofits looked at was specifically opening up a site to serve that population, as well as families. It was another population that was determined to be of a high priority. So that was actually already specific language in the proposal that we sent out to all the COC and the HPC, and that the nonprofits in that room, which are many nonprofits that signed off on that, were agreed to, that those populations absolutely, just like you all are saying, that we needed to make specific site specifications dedicated to serving different populations. And so that's already part of the original documentation.
It's on the first page of the contract.
It
says LGBTQ plus, create opportunities and capacity for choice and emergency housing for LGBTQ populations to live an authentic life free of harassment and violence. So that's right on the.
But again, as HG said, there's a difference between what's on paper, theory, and practice. And so I'm asking for a one-meeting deferral well, HG, I'll let you jump in there.
Go ahead. Yeah, I just saw you want to speak.
Our goal is to care for these young people that do not fit the traditional mold. My last review of this document did not have the language that I helped write. Thank you. I am more at peace than I was an hour ago. I was never willing to say that my friend Ryan would not be a good steward of these dollars. I just want to make sure we're protecting those who need it most. I want the room to know that I have not seen more inclusive leaders than Kathy and Stacy in my life. And as the new guy in our shelter team, it has been a joy to join that group.
So is your motion still continue?
Are you comfortable if we go with this legislation as is? Okay, then I will table my motion to defer.
Okay. Are you, Councilman?
Are you comfortable with that? Councilmember Withers? Because I will keep it if you're not.
I think
make sure that everyone feels.
Yeah, the inclusiveness of the groups that I had, where everybody was welcome, every approach was welcome. I didn't see anything that was on purpose in any way, the LGBT. So I want to make sure.
The worst is always unintentional as opposed to.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So.
And I want to make a statement to the council member. Just so you know, HG and I have a connection. I have LGBTQ family, but I also have a nephew that killed himself because he wasn't accepted. So this particular group of people is very.
Yeah, I can see very much. It's very vulnerable. So by all means, it's and that's what this is meant to do, is protect the vulnerable, especially those at most risk. So do I have a motion then to approve? So moved. Second? And second? To approve?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, 6 in favor, 0 against, it's approved. And that's.
There's one more. It's on the back.
Oh, sorry.
You're fired.
One more.
Okay, I have a special needs son, and he goes around and tells everybody they're fired. You know my hotel family, they'll come in, you're fired, you're fired. 20 years he's been saying that. So when you said that, I go, oh no, there's Sean. You just got to be around Sean to know you're fired. Okay. I'm back from being fired, so here I am. Resolution 2022-1795 approves a grant from the Tennessee Housing Development Agency to the Metro Action Commission to provide housing stability services to eligible households under the THDA Rent Relief Program. Moved. Second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Any discussion? Anybody here to talk about it? Hi, how are you? And you want to just touch base? Steve, how are you?
I'm Benita Davis. I'm the Director of Administrative Services and Operations for MAC. And we are happy, you want to stand up?
Yeah, go ahead.
We are happy that we're going to be able to provide this service to the residents of Davidson County. We have, as many of you know, already instituted, operated, and fought through many of the dollars that were presented here. We've given over $70 million to residents, landlords to provide housing relief due to COVID for residents of Davidson County. We have shut our portal, and in doing so, we have talked with THDA. THDA will be able to provide the same types of dollars that we were providing to Davidson County residents, but they do not have boots on the ground. They do not have the ability or their staffing to provide those services to assist individual seniors, those persons who are not literate with computers, to be able to provide the applications needed, and that is all done through technology, through software. So we have the kiosk at our facility. We have team members if we need to go into the community to help, and we are going to provide that service for THDA. We will not be processing as we did in the past because they have already entertained a vendor that handles that for them. So what we are here to do is to assist them in getting the residents into the portal.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstaining? There we go.
Now we're done.
Can I keep my job now?
No, maybe.
Thanks, boss. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's another one. There's
You know lots of times.
I know lots of
It's been a great
times.
conversation.